There is something you've never quite been able to explain to anyone. Not that you haven't tried. You're sitting in a room full of people you know. The conversation is moving. Someone is laughing. A story is being told. And you are there, technically fully there, but something is off. Like there's a thin layer between you and the moment. Like you're watching yourself be a person rather than actually being one. You smile at the right times. You respond when you're supposed to. But somewhere underneath all of it, there's this quiet, untranslatable feeling that you're not quite inside your own life. And the strangest part, it's not new. It has been there for as long as you can remember. You've wondered if other people feel this way and just don't talk about it. You've wondered if something is wrong with you, quietly, persistently, in the background of every room you've ever sat in. But psychology tells a completely different story. That feeling, the distance, the glass, the sense of watching rather than living, is not a malfunction. It is a pattern, a deeply specific one, and it lives, almost exclusively, inside a particular kind of person. There are 6 psychological traits that develop in people who feel chronically disconnected from their own lives. Not all of them will fit, but if you've felt what I'm describing, you will recognize yourself in more of these than you expect. And when you do, you will finally understand that this was never something broken inside you. It was something built. Trait 1, the observer mind. You have never just lived an experience. You have always simultaneously watched yourself having it. Think about the last time something important happened to you. Maybe good news, maybe a moment you'd been waiting for. And instead of landing fully inside it, instead of just feeling it, part of you stepped back, noticed yourself feeling it, analyzed whether you were feeling it correctly, wondered why you weren't feeling more. Psychologists call this depersonalization sensitivity, the tendency of a highly introspective mind to split, involuntarily, into the one who lives and the one who watches. In its clinical form, it can be distressing. But research consistently shows that a mild subclinical version of this is extraordinarily common in people with high self-awareness. The more you reflect, the more you observe. The more you observe, the more life begins to feel cinematic, like something happening near you rather than to you. This is not dissociation. This is what a mind that never stops paying attention to itself actually feels like from the inside. The observer in you is not a symptom. It is the same part of you that understands people at a depth most people never reach. But there's a trait underneath this one that goes even deeper, and it explains why the glass never fully lifts. Trait 2, emotional overprocessing. Something happens and you don't feel it yet. You process it first. Someone says something that lands wrong. A moment passes that should have felt good, and instead of experiencing it in real time, your mind opens a kind of internal case file. What does this mean? What am I supposed to feel? Is what I'm feeling proportionate? Is it real? By the time you finished processing, the moment is over. Psychologists call this meta-emotional awareness, the experience of having feelings about your feelings. Research in affective science links this directly to reports of feeling less present in one's own life. Not because you feel nothing, but because there are so many layers between you and the raw experience that you can't land fully in any single moment. You experience life with a slight delay. And in that delay, things happen without you, even when you're standing right there. This is not avoidance. It is the opposite of avoidance. It means you take your inner world so seriously that you cannot afford to be careless with it. The same depth that creates the lag is the same depth that makes you someone people trust with their most honest truths. If this already feels uncomfortably accurate, if you want psychology that explains your mind instead of telling you to fix it, you're welcome to subscribe. Trait 3, existential hyperawareness. You have always looked at the edges. While other people move through their days focused on what's in front of them, the task, the plan, the next thing, you have always been aware of something larger running underneath. Why am I doing this? What does any of this actually mean? Is this the life I chose or the life I ended up in? You don't ask these questions dramatically. You ask them quietly, continuously, like a background frequency that never fully cuts out. Psychologists describe existential awareness as the capacity to hold life's open questions, its uncertainty, its impermanence, its refusal to come with guarantees. Most people manage this by not looking directly at it. They stay inside the structure of their days. They keep the questions at a comfortable distance, but you were never able to do that. And what it creates is a persistent dissonance between the surface of your life, its routines and expectations and ordinary texture, and the vast unresolved weight of what you carry underneath. When you're going through the motions while simultaneously holding those questions, it is very easy to feel like you're not quite present, because part of you is always somewhere else, somewhere larger, somewhere the real answers might be. This is not detachment, this is philosophy. It is one of the rarest and most undervalued forms of intelligence a person can carry. There's something I want to say here before we go further, because this is the part most people reach late at night. When the apartment is quiet, when there's nothing left to distract yourself with, and you sit there in the middle of your own life, the one with your name on it, your furniture, your choices, and it feels like you're visiting, like you're a guest in something that was supposed to be yours. You're not in crisis. You're not even particularly sad. You're just hovering slightly above the life you're living. And the loneliest part isn't the feeling itself, it's that you don't know how to explain it to anyone. Because how do you say, I'm here, I'm fine, I have everything I'm supposed to have, and I still can't feel the floor beneath me if you've sat in that feeling? If you know exactly what that quiet, untranslatable distance feels like, this video is for you. Trait 4. Identity continuity difficulty. You do not experience yourself as a fixed, stable thing. You have changed significantly more than once. The person you were 5 years ago feels like someone you barely recognize, and sometimes, honestly, the person you are right now feels just as provisional, like a version of yourself that hasn't fully solidified yet. Other people seem to carry a cleaner story of who they are. You have never quite been able to do that. Not because you lack a self, but because you're complex enough to hold contradictions, to see yourself from multiple angles, to know that any single story you tell about yourself is only partially true. Psychologists call this low identity continuity, and research in identity development consistently links it to higher cognitive complexity and deeper psychological growth. But it also produces a particular kind of unreality around your own life. If the protagonist keeps shifting, if the self you're living as today feels different from the one you were last year, it is very hard to feel fully at home in any version of the story. This is not instability. This is a mind that refuses to be simplified. Your identity is not missing. It is just larger than any single frame can hold. But the next trait is the one most people in this kind of mind never expect. Trait 5. Chronic attunement fatigue. You're good at being present for other people? Exceptionally good. You read rooms, you catch the shift in someone's tone before they finish the sentence. You feel what other people are feeling, sometimes before they do. And you have given this gift your entire life without anyone fully giving it back. You have sat with people in their worst moments. You have held pain that was never yours to carry. You have made yourself available emotionally in ways that most people are not capable of. And here's what that does. Slowly over years, when you're always tuned to everyone else's frequency, always receiving, always tracking, always holding, you begin to lose reliable access to your own signal. Psychologists describe this through the lens of emotional contagion and attunement depletion. The documented pattern in highly empathic people where chronic outward attunement leads to a weakening of inward self-contact. What this feels like from the inside is disconnection, not from others, from yourself, from your own preferences, your own desires, your own sense of what you actually feel, separate from what everyone around you needs. This is not emptiness, this is exhaustion, and it is pointing at something specific. You have been witnessed your entire life by no one as carefully as you have witnessed everyone else. Trait 6. Meaning threshold mismatch. Not every life feels real to you. Just going through the motions, having the routine, the job, the social plans, the surface structure of a functioning adult life does not produce in you what it produces in other people. That low background sense of okayness, that comfort of days that make sense, you need more than that. Not because you're greedy or ungrateful or impossible to satisfy, but because you're wired for depth. You need what you do to carry actual weight. You need your relationships to mean something real. You need the life you're living to be connected, genuinely, verifiably connected to something that matters. When those conditions aren't met, the result isn't sadness exactly. It's that particular flatness, that watching from behind glass feeling, that sense that life is happening near you but not quite to you. Psychologists link this to what Abraham Maslow described as self-actualization need, the deep human drive toward authentic meaning, genuine growth, real living. Research on meaning-seeking personalities shows that people with a high meaning threshold experience a distinctive form of existential numbness when their environment cannot meet that threshold. It is not depression. It is your psychology refusing to accept a life that is smaller than you are. The disconnection is the resistance. It is your mind knowing without words, without drama, that this is not quite it yet. So here's what all 6 of these traits together describe a person who watches themselves while living, who processes experience in layers too deep for the moment to contain, who carries the weight of the largest questions without putting them down, who holds an identity too complex for any single story, who has spent so long tuned into others that they've lost the signal of themselves, who requires real meaning to feel real inside their own life. None of that is damage. None of that is something to fix. None of that is a malfunction. That glass wall, that slight delay, that feeling of moving through life as both the person and the witness. That is the texture of a mind that cannot help but be honest about what it needs. And the fact that you've felt it for so long, quietly, privately, without words for it, does not mean something went wrong. It means you were always this complex, always this deep, always this much. You were never broken. You were built differently. Which trait hit closest to home? Drop a number in the comments. Subscribe. You're in the right place.